And do you say your name Schmoke?
No,
I
it's Schmoke. It's not that fun. It's
It's been
Schmoke.
anglicized. It's Schmoke, actually. Mm.
Yeah, I know. In fact, I wanted to use it in my coaching, like smoking hot coaching, but I thought people would think it was like a porn site or it was marijuana.
We're starting this episode with a laugh. Hello, and welcome to Parenting for Thought, the podcast that talks about things that parents want to know. And even if we don't, we're here anyways. I have Kristen Schmoke, and I know I said that right because she just coached me on how to say it. And this is the first time I have another parent coach as a guest. And listeners, watchers, viewers, anybody listening to this, I have to tell you, I am really picky about the coaches I affiliate with. My standards are, they're finicky, they are high, and they're pretty rock solid. So I got real excited when I saw Kristen's website, what she's out there doing, what she's out there talking about, coaching parents on. So I'm really happy to have her here, and I can't wait to see where this conversation takes us. So, Kristen, in your own words, please, who are you? What do you do? What have you been up to?
Ooh, that's a big question. First of all, thanks for having me here. Super excited. I kind of identify myself as a mom of four, wife, teacher for over 25 years, and a parent coach. And I have lived in three different parts of the United States. So I feel like I have a pretty good grip on, or I have that experience of the different cultures. And I get to bring that into my coaching and how I work with parents. And also, I get to see how, while we're living in different parts of the country, we are still interacting with our kids in similar ways. And how, by changing some of the ways, simple changes that we can make with our children can actually have profound impact. And I think that's why we're all here. We're good parents. We want to be here. We want to help our kids. We want to raise good people. We work hard at it. And yet, there's still some things we could tweak.
Always. Always. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And just speaking to like the regional differences of things, I'm from the Seattle area. I also lived in New Jersey for 6 years before then moving back to the West Coast. And now I'm in Vienna, Austria. So I've seen some things. I've seen some parenting trends over the years. Um and now being over here in Central Europe in a really international area, I'm seeing not just Central European cultures, but cultures from all around. And it is so interesting to see the overarching things that stay the same all the time. It cracks me up when I'll see a parent and child interact and I'll go, yeah, I do not need to be speaking whatever language they're speaking to know exactly what was just said, because it's like literally copy paste. And then other times I'll see an interaction that makes me go, wow, that's really different than maybe a Western parent would or an American parent would. Really interesting stuff.
Yeah, I love it. And I was going to say, you probably don't even need to know what words they're saying because you can read the body language.
Oh, totally true. Totally true. So, did you teach in all of these different areas in the States too?
Yep. Yep. I've taught in Michigan, California, and Tennessee. So, and I've taught every age group. So the youngest age group I've taught is 2.5. So 2.5 all the way to college. And now I work with parents. So I
Whoa.
really have like a broad spectrum of teaching, but also I've taught in different kinds. I've taught in traditional public school. I've taught in traditional private school, traditional private Christian school. I've taught in some non-traditional schools. This was my favorite. I taught at an outdoor preschool, and
Wow.
we were outside every day. And I really attribute that experience to a lot of the social emotional learning about children. That experience was just so rich because
Mhm.
it allowed for the social emotional development of children, and it was
Mhm.
really fun to see that in real time.
That's really cool. Yeah, we're seeing more and more of those pop up. over here in Central Europe. There's a German phrase that gets thrown around a lot. It's like, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. It's it's a value over here that parents want their kids outside. They'll get snarky at the kindergarten staff if they didn't take their kids outside that day.
Good. They need to be outside every day. There's no, I mean, they're not going to melt in the rain, and they're not like, even if it's cold, you can go out for 10 minutes. It's like, it's a complete shift just by getting fresh air.
All the autistic kids everywhere hearing this cried a little. The indoor autistic kids who just want their book and their blanket.
Fair.
So, I would love to talk with you today about this concept of parent fragility, which that's a broad term, right? And it can mean a few different things. But as parent coaches, when parents are coming to us, it's typically because things aren't going well, and they're at a point where they're like, okay, something's got to change, and I can't force my child to change. I can't, quote unquote, fix my child. Maybe I should try something different. Or in general, they're just ready to hear somebody else's 2 cents worth. I don't know if you've encountered this. I know I have. Even parents who want to make a change can sometimes really struggle to get over that first hurdle of accepting feedback about their own behavior.
Yeah, it's really personal. It's really personal, and it's really um, shining a light on the areas that we already feel insecure about.
Mm,
And that can be a really big and hard pill to swallow.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I think that's the biggest hurdle, but yet we want what's on the other side of that, or the
Hmm.
parents want on the other side of that, because they know what's on the other side is connection and joy and ease and love
Relationship.
abundantly. Yeah, the
Yeah.
relationship, what they desire.
Yeah. But like with most good things or things worth having, uh, putting in that labor to get that payoff, right? And
Well, it's a
and
deeply rooted belief system that they
yes.
have, and it's a part of their identity, and so they literally have to let a part of their identity die in order to have different.
Wow. I've never looked at it in that light before. I think a lot about generational growth and, what the way that my parents raised me, and I've talked about this before. I did not have a great childhood, which is one of the main reasons why I do what I do now, is because I've fought tooth and nail for my emotional, mental, physical health. And I want to pass that on to others so that it doesn't keep happening. And the parents that I encounter are also looking to change their generational traumas, right? They want it to stop with them. Um, so I think about that part of things a lot, but I never went so far as to say, yeah, that's a part of their identity. And even if they want it to change, letting it go before they can replace it with something new, that's heavy.
Yeah, that's why there's so much resistance, right? Like, who am I without that? Who
Mm.
am I? We don't know. We don't know, right? And it feels so scary to let that go, because those identities were formed young, before
Yeah.
the age of 7, many of them. And it was a survival tactic, right? Of the ego,
Hmm.
because they believed, if I do this, then I'll be safe, because of whatever situation they were put in or led to believe or experience they felt.
Hmm.
It it allowed them to believe that, and so then they carry it with some of them carry it with them for decades. How do you
Some
let
of
go of
them
that
never let
identity?
go. I know I've
Yeah.
seen that in people I have in my close circle who are older now, and their parents are elderly or maybe even have passed on, and they're left with these pieces of an identity that never quite fit them, but they don't have anywhere to put it. And it's so ingrained by now that they're sitting there going, well, I guess I just hold on to this until I pass on.
That breaks my heart.
Right? It's never too late to let something go and discover yourself. Never.
Well, then, I mean, if you hold on to these old identities, are you ever stepping into who you were meant to be?
Totally agree with you. Totally agree.
And don't we want the same for our kids? But that can't happen when we are infusing our own desires, our own expectations, our own wishes for our child, and we're putting
Mhm.
it on them rather
Mhm.
than letting them evolve into the person, and we get to kind of go alongside of them. I think it's a different perspective to parenting for sure.
Totally. Well, and if you're not ready, if you're not yet willing to acknowledge that you're carrying things in you that you don't want to be carrying, if you're not ready to acknowledge that, then you're not going to be ready to let it go, and you're going to stay in this power struggle of watching your kid form an identity that suits them while you don't have one that suits you. That's hard to watch, right? I mean, look at queer kids now. Look at how much faster they're figuring out who they are and accept it, not just figuring it out, but accepting it and stepping into it with this confidence, with this self-assuredness, and just being like, yeah, these are my pronouns. Maybe use them. Or like, yeah, I'm attracted to these kinds of people. They know it. Not all, obviously. We have a long way to go, but compared to where we were 30 years ago, compared to what I was able to do regarding my identity as a child, oh my gosh, I have so much hope for these generations.
They have parents who are a little bit more accepting. And just they're like,
Mhm.
like, I've seen what happens when we don't accept our child for who they are. So let's
Mm.
say they come out and they say, I'm now using they them pronouns, or opposite ones from what that don't match with the gender they were born with.
Mhm.
And our parents these days are going, I just love my child. I just want
Mhm.
to love you. Not
Yeah.
all. Some are like some kind of take it as like a personal attack that they did something wrong. Oh, I raised my kid to be gay, and you're like, well, that's not really how that works. It's not you, but we can take it, but some parents can really take that because there is a part of them that feels guilt, shame, responsibility because
Mhm.
this parenting gig is heavily weighed with responsibility. But I
Mhm.
like to tell parents, like, well, what if you were never in charge to begin with? What if
Mm.
this is really just your opportunity to witness the growth of your child and to support them? What if you never really had control? And parents sometimes freak out about that because they are like, well, no, I'm the one who has control. I'm like, actually, you don't. That's not how life works. Tell me what you have control over right now. Nothing. You have
Exactly.
control over yourself. You have control over yourself, and that's it.
I love that because I'm just thinking back to I had a bedtime troubles webinar last night, and I mean, parents, tell me, among you, has one of you ever had a bedtime that was completely problem free with no back talk, no oh just one more story? Like, come on, one meal time, one day, one measurement of anything. No chance. That's not how it works with parenting. We know that.
It's called free will. It's called free will for a reason.
And I mean, I would really argue the more that your kid is trying different things, the more free will you're very clearly giving them. They have options, which is exciting. And we could get into the weeds about the other side of that, of course, but we don't need to do that today. This idea of the fragility of, I my heart really breaks, because I've really planted my flag in the hill of that society has failed parents, and I stand by that. They do not have the information that they need to make informed decisions with their kids. And they're out there, they're trying to find the information, they're doing the best they can with the tools that they currently have, with all of these whispers in their ear from teachers and friends and their own parents. And I mean, that's going to shake anybody.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and in it the speaker said, kids do well if they can. And I was like, boom, drop the mic right there. Yes, true. Nobody tries to do wrong. He said, now switch that out. Adults do well if they can. And it's true for parents. Parents are trying so hard, but we've not been given the skills. Our skills have
Mhm.
been watered down and diluted from generation to generation. And what we thought mattered, which was financial success, job, career success, getting married, having kids, is not actually the true measure of success. The true measure of success is allowing you to be comfortable with you.
Mhm.
And as a parent, can you say that you're fully comfortable with you? If you are
Mm.
not fully comfortable with you, that energy translates to your children. They can see it, they can feel it, they don't understand it. Because you're saying one thing, but they're feeling something else from you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's where that conflict comes, and it comes and then it recycles. And
Mhm.
so because parents are confused and they're like, well, I have to show this pretty face, I'm happy all the time, but their child's like, I feel this non-happy vibe in me, but I don't understand it, that mom's putting off or that dad's putting off.
Mhm.
That
Mhm.
feels scary to me,
Yeah.
because when it's conflicting, it's scary.
Yes. What's
And
the
then that
truth?
creates,
What's the true thing? Where's the safety?
where's the safety? And then that creates that cycle of, well, you're saying one thing, but you're acting another way. And so then the child's confused and then they act out in their own way. And now we have this power struggle. Now we have this dis-ease in the family. We have conflict because we're saying and doing one thing, but feeling another.
This is reminding me of something that I saw happen with my own two eyes. I was at the aquarium with a kiddo that I take care of twice a week, and there was a child in there, maybe 6 years old, who was running around and causing quite a dust up. And in this child's excitement, knocked over a much younger child, and it was clearly accidental, right? But the parent of the much younger child was like, "Hey kid, like, pay attention please. You just knocked over my tiny child." And they weren't rude about it. It was a totally appropriate reaction. But the parent of the older child was their reaction was to grab the kid's arm pretty firmly and try to pull them away and make a show of disciplining, right? To show this other parent, hey, I take the offense that my child has caused your child, I take that seriously, and I'm gonna handle it. And what does the older child do, whose arm is now being held by the parent? Flops to the ground, just, dead weight. And the parent now has to further engage in a power struggle and decide, well, am I going to sit down on the floor with my kid, or am I going to yank my kid up and haul him off to the next room and just get out of the situation? Well, they did the latter, obviously. If you're not prepped with the skills, you're not going to do the extra hard thing. You're going to try to get in and get out as fast as you can. And I watched this whole thing and I'm biting my tongue the whole time because nobody asked me my opinion. And I wasn't hired in that moment. I was busy doing other stuff. So I told myself, Emery, shut up. Nobody cares what you have to say right now. And I just watched and I thought, man, that poor parent would have had other options, but clearly didn't know what they were. And what did that child take away from that interaction, right? Well, don't knock over little kids and everything should be fine. That's not the lesson.
Yeah. Well, even the child learned that if I'm having fun and I mistakenly knock somebody over, I get in trouble. Like, so when we use the words discipline, discipline actually means to teach, not to punish. But society, our world has learned that discipline means to punish.
Mhm.
And when we just punish our kids, we're not actually teaching them anything, which means we're not showing them the way to do it right.
Mhm.
We're just
Mhm.
saying you're wrong in this moment. And those are two very different things.
Yes.
And a lot of it is because back to parenting, there's a lot of shame involved in asking for help as a parent
Oh,
because that
yes.
means I'm less than, I'm not able to do this on my own. And yet, we come from a society of of groups, right? Like we used to live together in caves. We used to
Yes.
care for each other in groups. And now
Yes.
here we're doing it on our own and we're told we're supposed to be good at it. We're supposed to be
Mhm.
amazing at it. And oh, you're a natural.
Yeah.
Great. And also I don't have the support system. I'm exhausted. I don't have the bandwidth to take on anything new, much less personal growth. Are you even kidding me? Like I just want to eat lunch today and maybe take a shower.
I wanna
Um,
go to the toilet without my toddler's fingers coming underneath the door.
or even having to pee with the door open, just in general.
For
It's
example.
so we failed parenthood or mothers specifically
Oh, yes.
in that regard because they have been told or led to believe that we give everything to our children. And when we are giving everything to our children, we're no longer taking care of ourselves. We become a shell.
Yes.
And we no longer have the capacity to be at our best self, which means we no longer are able to be the best leaders we need, which means we are no longer the best role model because we're just
Absolutely.
surviving instead of thriving.
Yep.
And when we get that opportunity to redirect that and realize, like, no, I am important. I am actually the most important. The rest of this doesn't happen without me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we've also been told that self care looks like massages and girls' nights out and sitting on the couch eating bonbons, which I don't know who actually does that, but
I
I
in
need to
my
meet him.
whole in my whole life, I've still never seen it.
Or just binge watching Netflix at night, right? Like that's my self care. But really, what parenthood is continued self care. Like like everything, it's always attainable to you at all moments. It's always a choice, though. You get to choose between rushing off and treating parenthood like an emergency, or you get
Mhm.
to choose to take a breath and be like,
Mhm. Mhm.
okay, how did my best self show up to this right now?
Yeah.
I get to choose. Oh yeah, you know what? I haven't eaten yet today.
Mhm.
I'm going to take a break and eat, and it's okay that my kids play by themselves for a few minutes.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I'm not
I
their entertainer.
no. I'm thinking so much as you're talking, I'm thinking a lot about how huge a role intersectionality plays here too, because the opportunities for pause that financially stable parents have compared to those who are stuck in a poverty cycle, or those who are, this is part of the poverty cycle, but working multiple jobs to make enough money so that the kids can eat, as opposed to being able to then take time to dive into the child's emotional development. It feeding the kid
What?
is gonna
Yeah,
come first, right?
that's definitely not top priority for sure.
Absolutely. Those aren't the people who are listening to this podcast. They don't have time. They don't have the time for that. They're they're busy trying to make sure that their basic needs are getting met. Self-care is not an option. It, again, we could get into the weeds over this way and that way that they could do it. That's not the point. But the folks who have finances and have time, they have the luxury of that choice. And what a beautiful choice to have when your personhood and the personhood of your child is what's at stake.
Mm, yeah. I'm going to challenge you on that just a little bit. This is
Ooh,
my thought.
do it.
Okay.
I love it.
So I actually believe self care comes within you. You always have it within you and you always have availability to it, no matter your financial situation or your life experience. It is
Mhm.
always within you. And you always have that power to stop and take an intentional breath. It
Mhm.
can take less than a minute for you to take a breath, maybe
Yeah.
every hour. And it impacts the rest of those 59 minutes immeasurably because it realigns you to who you are, the truth of who you are, which is a valued person who is taking
Mhm.
care of all of the next generation in a meaningful and intentional way. And
Mhm.
you are showing up as your best self because you love and care for you, because you are value wholly and
Mhm.
internally. And there's nothing that can take or give to that because you
Mhm.
are value. So by taking that breath every hour, you actually get to set that intention. And
Mhm.
you're
Mhm.
right. You're right that the people that are working multiple jobs are away from their kids. And I'm sure that is heartbreaking to them, 100%. And they also can still take a breath so that when they do have the time with their children, it can be as best as it can be, right?
Mhm.
It's that person showing up.
Yeah.
And you're right. Those people probably aren't listening to this podcast because they're they're working, um, but I don't like the idea of people thinking that like only in a financial stable situation do you have availability to self-care.
That's such an easy one for me to say. I totally agree with you. It's this idea of self-care, I think it's so huge, right? Because this idea of taking the breath, if you've listened to my podcast with Rachel Mark, we talk about taking that breath and how meaningful that is. And that is an act of self-care, absolutely. And gosh, it's rare that I have to struggle to find my words, but here I am because this concept is just so huge and the layers are
Mhm.
so infinite. Um and and my desire, what I want for every parent is also so big because I'm like, yeah, take a breath, that's great, that's meaningful, like, and it's scientifically based meaningfulness there. Uh, but I want so much more. I don't, nobody should be stuck in a poverty cycle at all. And that shouldn't even be happening, gosh darn it. It should be a choice of if you want to work or if you want to stay at home or if you want to do both. And it shouldn't be up for grabs if your partner is appropriately supporting you or not. That should just be a given. So when I'm thinking about self-care and in the context of socioeconomic status or region of the world, it's all of this is swirling in my head. But I mean, and maybe this is the huge takeaway today, parents who are listening, is maybe get very honest with yourself about what does self-care mean to you? Are you taking a pause to even consider what's going to feel right for you? A pause is great, sure, but if for you it's like make the cup of tea or jot a note down, like jot down an affirmation for yourself, pull a tarot card, text a friend and just be like, "Yo, I love you. You're awesome." And then they're like, "I love you. You're awesome." Find your own way to take that radical act of self-care.
That breath, you just articulated that breath interrupts the mundane. It interrupts the subconscious roteness, rote behaviors that you're having
Yeah.
throughout the day, the habits, it interrupts it. And that's when you
Mhm.
get to realign with it, which is why it's so powerful because
And
then you get to choose.
and I'm thinking about how this connects up with talking about the fragility. And if we're taking these moments, these radical moments to interrupt um the monotony of every single day and the diaper changes and the laundry and the dishes and the mama 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 mama, if we take that moment, I really think it's in those moments that we find our most authentic selves.
Yes, 1,000,000%. I couldn't agree more. That's where we find ourselves. And then guess who's watching?
Oh, yes, Kristen. Yes.
Guess who's watching? That's how we
Love that.
change the world, with a
Love
breath.
that. There we go.
I'm like, how simple is it? But yet, we'll resist. People will resist. Why? Because it's a part of our identity to be hustle, 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 give, give, give. I don't receive. I don't take care of myself. And all of that old identity is going to come right back to the surface. And you get to
Mhm.
go, well, isn't that interesting? Look who showed up to the party.
It's
Matt.
an ongoing thing. It's ongoing. Discovering your authentic self, being present, for the little ones, watching us, taking our offerings. Yeah, that is an ongoing exercise. Maybe for you, it's more of a battle. This is not easy stuff. Having kids isn't it? If anybody told you having a child was going to be an easy thing, I'm ever so sorry, but you were very much lied to.
I would say, I would say I would say we make parenting more complex than it needs to be.
Mm.
It, at its core, it's very simple.
Mhm.
Love your child in their in who they are. And yet we
Mhm.
complicate it with our future worries and our past fears. And we very often don't stand in the present of that connection of love and enjoyment and awe of the magic and wonder of who they actually are. We
Mhm.
get caught up in the, oh, you just threw a temper tantrum, and oh, and how uncomfortable I feel with your behaviors.
Mhm. Mhm.
That shifts it.
And I'm thinking too about how, as a society, we've complicated it by removing support structures that used to be in place,
Mhm.
and how it's a challenge to find a school setting that's going to appropriately accommodate your child and make sure that their needs are getting met when they're not in the home with you. And
Oh, the school setting's broken. Like they're not. Yeah, I mean, as somebody who's worked in and out of schools, teachers individually are doing the best they can with what
oh,
they have.
it,
But as
yeah.
a whole, to say that your child's going to get all their needs met is not true. I mean, it's a system that was started in the Industrial Revolution the way it is today because it was meant to educate the masses for the
Yeah.
workforce. Like that was their purpose. So
Yep.
it wasn't the whole child. It was like, hey, let's get you a brief information or
Yeah.
like an overall of math, an overall of English, an overall of science, an overall of
Yep.
history. Now you know which path, which career to pick.
And decide it by 18.
Yes. And your brain doesn't even develop till late 20s. So
Yeah. So we're all having a heck of a time on this floating rock in space.
yeah, like why don't we enjoy it more? Like, come on, have a little more fun. Like this is a magical experience, right? Like let's sit back and look and go, wow, the sun is shiny today. How freaking awesome is that? I've got grass growing and we had snow over the weekend. And how cool is that I get to live in a world where it snows and it's sunny and also I get to have a kid who's
Yeah.
pretty musical on their own.
Yeah, yeah. My wish for all parents, is to find those magical moments as often as you can. These are the things that, you gotta tuck that glitter into your back pocket, to get through some of the harder moments.
Yeah. Yeah, but if we sat and took a breath, it wouldn't feel so hard after all,
And
right?
there it is. Kristen, where can people find you if they wanna know more about you or if they wanna work with you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram. I'm kristen.schmoke.parenting. I always say the hardest part is spelling my name. But
I'll put it in
Kristen
the
with a
comments.
K. Get you started.
I'll
I
I'll
have a
put all the
website.
links.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say I'll put all the links in the description, and I'll be tagging you too. So if you're trying to find Kristen and you can't, find me and I'll get you there.
We'll connect the dots. I mean, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I've got a website. My website's KristenSchmoke.com. That's all the really cute parenting names were taken. So I went with Kristen Schmoke.
I went with Emery Kettle.
I mean, it makes sense to me. So
Thank you so much for joining us today.
thank you for having me. Like I feel like we could just talk for hours and have all these amazing moments and connections and yes.
Easy to do when you find people who are a value match.
Yeah, so good. I love it.